makes this so much easier.
What are you recording information off of this thing, or
Huh?
recording info off of that, or?
I'm gonna take notes and recording the class so I can see how stupid I look when I do all this stuff. Yeah.
Ask your parents or an older sibling.
Does that just make you feel a little old right there?
It did very much. And that's not go with the whole hip hop thing I'm trying to portray. So.
PJ.
All right, so listen up, Bobby. Okay, take a couple minutes now. Come on now. Be able to describe Piaget's theory. Now, a lot of you guys, what group talked about Piaget's theory? It was a group in here that talked about Piaget. Okay, good. Guys. We'll just highlight Piaget, and I do want to talk to you a little bit about some criticism of Piaget's work, and that's going to be on your essay examination, so you may want to give me feedback on that. And then we're going to talk a lot about gender identity and how it develops, including gender identity disorder. Yeah, and what we're seeing right now is that transgendered is happening earlier in children, and we're going to talk a lot about whether or not, as parents, we should encourage it, or is it something that they're experimenting with? When do we say it's actually something that we need to consider seriously? Hold on to that thought, Cadero. Just read about that?
Oh gosh. Oh, that reminds me. I missed real world.
Okay. One of the interesting things about Piaget, Piaget is a huge developmental theorist. And a lot of his work is more mainstream than what we talked about earlier. Bowlby and Ainsworth, they are wonderful, but as far as stage development, we see a lot of work coming from Erik Erikson, and Piaget. When I was growing up, my mother was a child development major. And every behavior that I exhibited, well, Piaget would say, well, you're in this stage. And so because of that, as a result, I started to have more fascination with Erickson stages. But now I've stopped fighting my mother, and I'm back to Piaget, because really, stage development are based on patterns. We'll talk why that may be an issue. So some of the things, the key points that you want to note with Piaget's theory is mental schema. What do we consider milestones in developmental behaviors in childhood?
Learning to talk, learning to walk.
How early is childhood?
Let's talk about childhood from the period of 5 to 12.
Oh no, it's from there.
What's that? Okay, good. You're developing your motor skills. You're honing your motor skills. What else?
Social development.
Social development. It starts to become more acute during that period. What else? Communication. Your language skills are more in tune. You start to mimic more of your parents' vocabulary. When I was in elementary school, we had an examination every week to define 25 words. And these words were chosen by an instructor, and it was called Worldly Wise. They have since eliminated that part of the English curriculum at my elementary school, and I see the results of that. A lot of my peers are teaching our children. So I'm not afraid to admit that my age bracket is between 29 and 37. And a lot of us have teenagers, and we're teaching them, and their vocabulary is not as advanced as ours was. Because we were required to, this is part of our curriculum. Now it's not.
I remember the egocentric years.
Second grade.
Refrigerated.
Yeah,
R-E-F.
But you know what's so interesting about the link of your vocabulary skills and your SAT examinations? Can you all tell me what the link is between vocabulary skills and standardized testing?
I have no clue.
Think about it for a sec. Yes.
I got a 32 on the ACT, and I do not know how the hell that happened.
Words out. Yes, sir.
How well people understand what the test is asking them, and then how well they apply it.
It's very comprehensive as well. So if you don't understand what a word means, Bobby, this is totally not, it's an example, but it's not really the most applicable example. But during the first examination, you came up and asked me about a word. Do you remember what that word was?
Wait.
It was a word that could have two meanings for the examination.
Oh.
Yeah, and that I thought about a little bit after he came up and asked me about that word, and I thought, well, you know, maybe I shouldn't have put that particular word on there because it could have two meanings, but in the context of your examination, it could only have one meaning. But I thought how interesting it was, what if that was on the ACT? You know what I mean?
That was a bad test.
What do you feel about?
I hate that test.
Thanks for your time.
About in high
Three
school they
times.
make you take what's the study of the word breakdown? Like that was called. Not my
Steph and Renee?
Huh?
What you
When you learn like the Greek root or
Like vocabulary.
it's not called that. It's called,
Oh,
Never heard of it. They didn't do that in my high school.
They was like,
well, anyway, it's
Biomed
it breaks
in high school,
down
what,
bigger
Latin?
words and makes them into small words.
Mhm.
You understand what the basis of them are, so you can better
Prefix?
You see a word, huh?
prefixes, roots.
Prefixes, suffixes.
and then in spelling test, you can actually say, when they say, do a spelling bee, can you give me the root word of that? Can you give me, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I made us take that in high school. I had to study all those. I had a big old dictionary. I had to break down to all those
For
Latin,
you.
Greek, and all that stuff. How do you feel about them making us do that type of stuff too, in addition to, I mean, as a substitute of when you're younger, giving you all those vocabulary.
Did everyone hear his question? That's an excellent question, a thought-provoking question. His question was, how do I feel about the need, or if part of it being curriculum, for you to break down the word into its Latin meaning, into its Greek meaning, and et cetera. My thoughts on that is that it kind of will marginalize what we can do in different communities. I think it will make an examination more biased. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Just like standardized testing, I do feel there is a need for it. I do not agree 100%, and this may be for you developmental majors in there. Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence. Does that sound familiar, Rachel?
I just read about that like 5 seconds ago.
I conflict with that theory. The theory basically states that we can hone our skills and we can practice to become more intelligent in certain areas, but we start off with key areas that we're just better at. You may be kinesthetically better, like Michael Jordan. That's your intelligence. Here's my thoughts on that. Not everyone's going to get a scholarship for sports, and you have to still be able to compete intellectually. I'm interested. What are your thoughts on it? Fair enough, Rach. Yes, sir.
I think that you're better at some things than others, but I mean, I just based off of your genetics. But it's not all based off genetics. My mom's math is, I can't do math so.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I'm great at history. I've always been good at history my whole life. That's the one subject, history and English are always the subjects I got A's in, without trying.
Well, and he brought up a good point. I mean, it could be
Hate
genetically
history.
influenced, but
I mean, it's
according
easy,
to
but-
Gardner, if you're not good at math, you can become better at it, and you can be, you can achieve at it. But you already start off with some core skills such as linguistics. You may be good at English and history and all that stuff. Interpersonal intelligence is one of the areas, which is, yeah, I could be your friend and we can talk and we can chat, but would they get me into Harvard? I'm just saying. You know, when I teach on MI theory, it's all great and everything, and I think it's wonderful to teach our children that you're not just good at one skill, you're multiple intelligent. But I think sometimes it gives a false sense of reality, because on your application for Harvard, you can't say, I'm making myself laugh, I have interpersonal intelligence. Care.
I think it's more applicable though to like children. Like I mean, when it comes to like college, you can't really teach classes for, you can't be like, well, I'm only bodily kinesthetic, so you need to just really tailor everything to bodily
Right.
kinesthetic. But I think when you're in elementary school, especially when you're a teacher, it does help a lot because some students really